Let's get into maybe some of the aspects of the business side. Where do you see some of the learnings or some of the mistakes that were made from a business strategy standpoint? Basically from, ideation to the design. Let's take that first stage. What mistakes do you see them kind of making, or what risky decisions have they made so far, and how they've improved, or what can we do to improve on that?
When you're not familiar with design, working with a UX team or person, your mindset is more engineering than user. It took quite a bit of conversation and coaxing, and you plant a seed and you hope it grows, and eventually it did. That we kind of moved them into a different mindset where they became more user focused in the end
versus feature focused.
Yes, the user must be happy with what they're getting. It's not about the business entirely. Obviously, there's business goals that have to be achieved. We have a new feature coming up that has a very steep business goal, and we've had conversations about the MVP, which is the minimum viable product, and what that's going to involve. So from a starting perspective, from the design side, we looked at how we could solve the major problems, which were people were running costs through the system in the old application, where they could charge twice for the same thing. And this is a very big risk. So we wanted to try and solve that with the least amount of cost involved and time first, before rolling out the entire new feature. But when we spoke to the CEO, he wanted to roll out the entire thing from scratch. He luckily said time isn't an issue, which is amazing.
Sounds a bit risky.
Yes. So there's a lot of money and a lot of time going into something that might not be adopted, or might need a lot of rework. We don't know. We did some basic user testing with it, but the users that we got were not actual end users for the most part. There was quite a bit of resistance on people because this is quite a time-intense business as a whole. It's people that don't have a lot of time to spend, and they don't have a lot of time to do their day-to-day job. Now, to go and spend time doing this was something they weren't really available for. And the feature itself is also it's data intensive, and it's really interesting. It's great reporting data. It's kind of, if you don't populate the data, you don't get the result that would benefit your business. But if you do, you can really help yourself. It's just the time. Mm-hmm. The time is a lot. So we wanted to test how time intensive it would be. And business goal was to make money as fast as possible and not to solve a user problem. And because of this, we haven't been able to prioritize solving this huge risk over pushing out a massive feature that allows people to invest in something they haven't actually tested properly. That's the risk. We did convey the risk to them. They've made the decision regardless. They've said time isn't an issue, but then some of leadership is also saying, we want it by the end of the year. So that's in 6 months. It's a lot of work for such a short time. And rushing
doesn't sound too agile with the time constraint. UX used to be the glue that kind of brought everything together between business, dev, and design. But now product owners are pretty much that glue between business, design, and development. We always try to tell our product owners to take innovative risks, but tell me a little bit more about your experience and how you've worked with the product owners and how you've tried to get them to change their mindset if you needed to.
We've had a few of them. Yeah, as I said, staff turnover is a little higher than it should be. There were some that would kind of go rogue and just do what they want, which was really interesting. So you'd build a whole design system, you'd work to a cohesive process, and then they would just go, let's just go and do this on this page, even though there's a pattern of behavior for this.
They won't ask designers, even though they have one on their team. Yep.
So this was also a lot of change aversity. People that have never worked with designers before, they're not used to UX. They just want to get engineering happy quickly, and they just push on the accelerator without putting it into thought. The problem with that is there's a lot of rework, and it just created a very dense backlog. So for that role, you need somebody that's decisive and that is able to take feedback. Somebody that can work in a team, not somebody that works in a silo. You need to be able to accept constructive criticism, be able to take ideas, be able to give ideas, and be a collective. Again, communicate. We now have a really great process. The current product owners are really good. Everybody is in a meeting every week about anything design related. In the beginning, it was more perceived that as a team as IIIMPACT, we were external and we don't have a say on the design, but being the only designer, there's nobody else that is the guardian of the design.